Hey guys, my name is Taylor and welcome back to my visual diary. And for today's video, we're going to be doing a reading vlog, y'all. It might be early, but I think I have just found my first 5-star read. And that is Babel. This will be spoilers, so if you're going to read this book, do not watch this video. I think, not just found it, I'm not even kidding, I think this might be my favorite book ever. Girl, where to begin? I didn't know anything about this book going in. I went into it blind. Go into this, you deserve to go into this book blind. Let's start from the beginning. I'm on page 110, okay? Number one, I ate this up. And I haven't ate a book up in a while. I could not put the book down. This book starts off with, I have a master's in public health, so it starts off with the cholera outbreak. And everybody knows Jon Snow. If you are in a public health program, you know who Jon Snow is, and you know about cholera. And you know about cholera in England, which also is touched base in this book. But you also know about cholera all over the world. And for those of you guys who don't know, cholera is a disease that comes from water contamination, and it spreads from feces or bodily fluids. So back then, when people didn't use proper hygiene, and if they defecated in public drinking water and etc., when the next group of people came in afterwards and drank water that had been infected, they would get cholera. And cholera was extremely extremely deadly. So it would completely wreck your GI tract. And after it wrecks your GI tract, you have a lot of diarrhea, a lot of vomiting, and you end up dying from dehydration because your body just continually trying to get out the bacteria. If you get cholera, your life chance of survival at that time is just very low. So that's where it starts off. It starts on a cholera outbreak in China. And the way it's depicted, you're okay, yeah, this is real. Especially just already from my public health. I'm oh yeah, Shawty did her research. And not even that, I like the very beginning of the book where, because I love a well-researched book. If you're going to do a book and you tell me your sources and what you did and why you did it, honey, I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up. Okay, I respect a historian. I respect a fact gatherer. I respect stepping on it and putting it on business. I respect that. She literally tells you right here, author's note, a representation. And in this note, she explains all her depictions of Oxford and England of the time. And she describes all of the historical accuracies, her source documents from it, and then she describes the changes she's made, because she's yeah, I made some changes and this is why. And I was just girl, beast, you have all my love and support. Just that alone was all right, I'm finna read it. Basically, it follows the cholera outbreak is happening in Canton, China, which is a major port in China. And there's this kid, and it opens up that his whole family's died. His housekeeper, who's English, has died. His family, because he's Chinese, has died. His mom has just died. His grandparents, his aunts, everybody's died. Everybody in his village is dead. Everybody's dead. And this man comes in, and his name's Professor Level, and he puts this silver bar on his chest, and he heals him. And the kid is just wow. And so the professor basically gives him this ultimatum, come with me. If you come with me, you don't have to worry about room and board. You don't got to worry about anything. But in return for coming with me, you better study and you have to go to college. That's it. And you're going to study languages, right? It's fully your choice. I'm not going to have a gun to your head and make you do it, but you can come with me. You can survive. You don't worry about living on the streets, da-da-da-da. And then he's or you can stay here, and then most likely you're going to up on the streets and probably die or work really hard and die. So, your options are very limited, my friend. So come with me or don't, essentially. So, obviously, the little kid comes with him. And so he comes with him to England, And there's two of them. There's this lady named Miss Piper, and then there's him. And they go to like this man's estate, and he's a professor at Oxford. And he has him staying in Hampstead, England. And there he gets in these tutors and all these people to drill Greek and Latin, and to also make sure that he stays top tier on his native tongue, which is Chinese. And so you're learning like very early in the book that like the setup is like you have to know how language works, because when you go to Oxford, you're going to be studying language. So like that's the setup, right? Like that is the vibes, the setups. So while all this is happening, weird things are going on with the professor, okay? Thing number one, the professor makes the kids sign these documents as soon as they get to London, and he's like, this is what you're going to have to do, okay? You're going to have to sign over that you're going to be a ward of the state. You're not my son, okay? You are a ward, and this is you being like an English citizen. So the kid was just like, you know, like, why don't you want me to be your son? He was like, you're not my son, you're a ward. He was like, all right, whatever. Like, you're giving me room and board, it's fine. So that sketch. One day, he's late for school, okay? And the professor literally, I'm not even kidding, beats him down, okay? Like, grown, 11 years, like, to the point where he knocks a tooth out. Because you already know how Fantasy Baby doing the most. Like, they're always doing the most. Like, you broke my jaw. And, like, doing the most, okay? Knocked a molar out of him. His face was swollen. Beat him with a fire poker. Like, in very calculated, like hits, okay? And he didn't. He was just like, I told you, you focus on your school. If you're not going to focus on your school, you're out of here. And I was just like, whoa, honey, you're tripping. You're tripping. So that's number two. Number three, he's very sketch about this kid. Like, he is like, he acts like he cares, but then he also is very cold and dismissive. And so, like, the day that he got beat by him, like, he acted like nothing happened, like, the next day. And so, like, the kid is always just like, you know what? I'm just grateful to have a place to stay. Like, it's fine. Da-da-da. Oh, and I forgot to mention something. He made this little boy, like, change his name. So we don't know his given Chinese name. So the name that he's gone with, the professor told him you have to, like, come up with the name. So the name he has is Robert Swift. Okay? Or not Robert, I'm tripping. Robin Swift. That's his name. All that, like, just weird vibes, right? He ends up getting into Oxford, obviously. But before he gets in, let me circle back. One, like, whenever his professors, like, the friends come over, because he's a professor at Oxford, and, like, he leaves for, like, 8 weeks at a time to teach semesters, and he comes back and checks in on the kid. On, like, when he's back, one of his friends pulls up on him, and they're talking about, like, what's going on in China, and, like, invading, and da-da-da. And the little kid, Robin, hears him, and he's like, yo, what'd y'all say about China? And they were like, what's up? And then they're like, whoa, like, the resemblance level is, like, uncanny. Like, wow, is this your new one? Because, like, when we first, like, put the kid, like, in, like, Hampstead, like, he was put in a room, and the kid knew. He was like, you know what? Did somebody else live here before me? And, you know, but they never really touched on it. He didn't want to ask no questions, you know? It's just sketch vibes, right? And so, like, the friend is like, wow, like, does he know? Like, he looks just like you. And so then he was like, he doesn't know. And he was telling, like, the kid to go upstairs. But now we know Professor Level is his dad. And it was like, why are you being so weird about your son? Like, you're sketch, bro. Like, and I know, like, this is a lot of information, but it's a lot of information in these 100 pages, okay? Like, I'm only 100 pages in. There was a lot going on, okay? So fast forward, they end up getting into Oxford, okay? Little boy ends up going to Oxford. He gets there, and there's more people of color, because, like, mind you, they're in London at the time. And at that time, London, just England in general, was very sexist, racist, homophobic, and, like, religiously, like, what is it? Religiously, what is it when, like, you, I don't know the term. I'm blanking right now. It's late. But it's the term, like, when you're excluding another religion. So they didn't like anybody other than like the Christians at the time and Catholics. Okay? So if you can imagine, it was not the vibe. And they ended up going to Oxford, which is one of the most prestigious universities in the world, but also in England. And so you can imagine they felt like he felt out of place, and being Chinese, like his ride from England to Oxford was already like the vibes were off, because like people were asking rude questions, and they were just always rude. Like whenever they mention any matters about like slavery, the state of like Chinese and Indian by like the people in India, anything like that, it was a mad like racist and like crazy vibes. Okay. And so, mind you, these people don't want him there, right? So he gets to Oxford, and as soon as he gets there, he's going and like checking to his dorms, and he meets another person who's a dark-skinned Indian. And all of like these people that are like native to other countries get sponsored by these super wealthy elite white men that are English nationals or some sort of European. They could be French, they could be whatever, and they keep them locked away and have them studying language. And he's realizing the same thing happened to this Indian kid. Then they become besties very quickly. So the Indian time, his upbringing and how like life was crazy, how the white people came over and took over. So this book really is a really good book about colonization, right? And so all that's happening. So they're like vibing. Obviously they get into some altercations with some other students. They meet other students there that are white. Obviously they don't like them. And then like when they're walking around the grounds at night, more like students who are also white try to like get in a fight with them. The vibes are off. But you know what? They're like, you know what? Let's just vibe. Because like, you know, like when you move into college, you have like those first like couple of days before classes start. They're like, you know what? Let me enjoy my time. I'm going to enjoy my time. Regardless of what's going on, I'm going to have a good time. Okay? So that's what they was trying to do. It was like, we don't care about the vibes. We're going to turn up. And so, first day of classes happen, and they meet two girls. One's black, one's white, but girls also aren't allowed on campus. So, like, they're all, like, being, like, they're realizing, like, why are we here? Like, we all know languages. What is our job here? And so, they are called babblers. And basically what their job is to translate. Well, what they're studying is like translation. And so basically they're taking language, like whatever language they have, whether it's Chinese, German, Arabic, all these different languages. All of these languages and documents and words, like any type of anything, like treaties, all of the legal, all of this is getting translated into English. Okay? And so that's their job. Their job is to understand language, understand semantics of language, understand like what the language, like the linguistic meaning, like the inferences, and take what the native language is trying to say and put it in English. Okay? That is like what they have been trained to do. And in the book, they have been selected because of their background. So England's just going in and handpicking all of these like different types of people with all these different languages and lands that they're actively colonizing, and having them study, translate everything that they have, and also be like translators when they're like doing like embassy and things like that. In addition to this, there is something going on. They have a magic system in this, and it's with silver. And basically, they briefly touched on the magic system, and that part's a little weird. And just to be disclosing, it's not witches, but they be saying spells on here and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, I'm a Christian, so I don't be playing with none of that. Okay? I don't be playing with the witchcraft. I don't be playing. At the end of the day, I believe in God. I don't be playing with the witchcraft. Okay? Okay? The witchcraft is not supported by me. But that be going on in this book. Just a disclaimer. What they have is like magic system called like the silver. And the silver, it's kind of hard to like describe because it's just starting. Basically, with the silver, it like does things. Like it might turn on like automatic lights. It might make your food warm. It might be like a night light. It might be like a healing agent. It might sing you a song. It might calm your mind. All these different things. And the way that the silver does that is through language. So, like, basically what the babblers are good at are understanding, like, for instance, like, have you ever heard, like, when people say, like, if you know somebody who speaks a different language, have you ever heard them say, you know what, like, I don't quite know how to say it in English. Like, not that you guys don't have the words, but it's just, like, I just don't know how to, like, describe it in English. Like, I don't feel like English has, like, that phrase. That's kind of, like, how the magic system works. Like, how it works is, like, they use that, like that type of, whatever that feeling is when you're, like, I just don't know how to, like, say it in English or say it in Chinese or whatever language. Their ability to actually write that, like, that like phrase, whatever that is. I know it sounds crazy. So, like, for instance, like, if like one of my friends, I remember there was a song, I think it was a Lion King song, and I think she was saying, like, the Lion King in Spanish is so much more beautiful than in English, because in Spanish they just use a lot more ways to say certain words than they do in English. And so, like, being able to describe, like, that missing piece, like, if you can make the words in between that missing piece from Spanish to English, that's what the silver working magic system is. Okay? And so, like, they create, like, all of these, like, beautiful things, like, in the gaps of, like, the things that are unsaid. But you have to be really good with English to do it. And so that's the magic system. And you'll see, like, the bar that he put, like, that the professor put on little boy when he was younger, that bar is, like, him using the magic system and keeping him alive. And so, right when they're getting into, like, how the magic system works, Robin has a brother. So remember, a whole brother. It's insane, okay? And he actually has tried to recruit Robin because he's stealing the silver and trying to distribute it to other places in the world, because apparently London has all the silver and all the magic that can do, like, all the healing. So, like, how Robin was saved was because of the silver. How like, London has become as powerful as it's come is because of the silver. How Oxford is as powerful as it is because of the silver. And, like, the very highest ranking that you can be as a babbler is a silver worker. And so, basically, his brother is... Oh, and his brother tells him, like, you know Professor Lovell is your dad, and this is why. Like, and Professor Lovell has a whole wife and kids, y'all. It's crazy. I was like, what? All this happened in 110 pages. I was telling my cousin about this, like, and my cousin was like, what? I was like, I'm telling you, these books be crazy. 110 pages, all this happened. And so, literally, his brother is like, look, I need you to work with us, because, like, his brother, he found his brother on the streets stealing some silver, and he helped him. And so his brother was like, meet up with me later at the Twisted Root. And so he was like, all right, I'm gonna pull up on you. So he pulls up on him, and that's when his brother is like, dad is out here wilding. Okay, he's obsessed with China, and he also, I'm your half brother. That's why we look alike. And they're out here using us to betray our own countries, because whoever controls the silver has the power and can colonize and take over more and more lands. That's why they have us translating everything into English and not the other way around. That's why they have us being these people that are translators for, like, missionaries and for, like, trees. That's why they have us supporting, like, slave trade, because, like, they're even using the silver, y'all, because slavery was abolished in this book, like a year or two, or maybe like a year, maybe like a year or two before he went. Don't quote me. They're out here trying to use silver to, like, still, like, control the slaves. Y'all, it's crazy. Then they were like when people are sick, they're not helping them. So, like, his brother's like, we are trying to get the silver to people who matter. We're trying to get the silver to our native lands, because they didn't pick you because you're special. They picked you because they're trying to use you. I was like, honey, this book is getting tea. So his brother gave him an ultimatum and was like, You got 5 days to decide if you're going to join me or not. And he's like, bro, I just got here. I'm not trying to get kicked out. I'm going to lose everything. Like, when Dad asked me to, like, come to Europe or not, I had nothing to lose. But now I got Oxford to lose. I got my life to lose. And I mean, I don't even really mess with Dad for real because he doesn't really mess with me. And obviously he's using me. But I could be something, you know? And Babel's lit. Like, I'm finally accepted. I have friends. Like, if I have to stay in England, like, nobody looks like me. I have people here that support me and love me. And I just met you. And his brother's like, pull up 5 days or nah. Let me stop talking to y'all like that. I'm just saying, that's what's happening. So, I'm going to update you guys later. Because this book is probably going to be my favorite book. Ever. And it's so crazy because I watched Taylor Faye reads and she hated this book. Favorite book ever. Ever. This flavor, top tier. So good. Okay, the elephant in the room. I broke 2 of my nails. And these are my real nails. So I'm really sad about this. Also, other elephant in the room. My hands are ashy. I told you I have dry skin and eczema. And in the winter, they're just going to be ashy. Yes, I put lotion on. Whatever. Okay, there's nothing I can do about it. So they're ashy. And these 2 nails are broke. Okay. Number 2, okay, y'all saw that I got Babel on my Kindle, okay, because I love this edition. I got this edition in Amsterdam, and I can't bring myself to beat it up. I think I'm going to, like, go back and forth in between, but I just couldn't bring myself. I'm like, this is too pretty of a book, and now that I think... I still very much believe this is going to be my favorite book ever. So I'm on page 187. I'm almost at the end of book 2. So there's 4 books in this book. Okay, this is where I am in the physical. Thoughts, okay? Where we are currently. Robin just got shot, y'all. Robin just got shot, okay? Like, this book is just... I feel like the book that, like, hits close to me that makes me feel as good is the Emily Wilde series, like Encyclopedia of Fairies and Map of the Other Lands. But this is way better. If you're into academia and science and, like, STEM and all of that, like, if you are somebody that has a love for learning and you also happen to be, like, a person of color. Not saying that people not of color don't enjoy this book, because a lot of people enjoy this book. But the depictions of, like, colonization, you, like, passing, you having a, like, code switch, you finding a found family at university, especially if you go to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. Just like that whole experience. I went to the University of Georgia, and this has nothing to do with University of Georgia, but the surrounding town where University of Georgia was in Athens, very much can identify with, like, not being able to get into bars, a lot of, like, racist undertones, being harassed or accosted, like you're not supposed to belong there. I have so many stories from UGA, so many. So it's like having that experience being so accurately written and depicted, especially even, like, their ways of, like, describing the Muslim character Rami. I was just like, wow, this is speaking to me. Like, I wish I had this book when I was literally 20 years old and I was an undergrad. Like, so good. I like in the second book, a lot of it's focused on like them and their like camaraderie with like school. They're in their second year now at Babel. The team or like the group of kids are much more seasoned. They found their flow. I even like how like they described like why the upperclassmen are kind of rude to the underclassmen, and it's not even like they're trying to be. Like now you're seeing that they're just like overworked and like they just have so much going on they can't. I like Griffin's brother and his character and like how he's so angry and why he's angry because he lost his mother tongue because of Professor Level, you know? I like the juxtaposition between like literally Robin like trying to like function between loving Oxford but also hating Oxford. And I feel like so many people can identify with that. And then what I really like was like there was a line in the book where it was like translation is betrayal because you can't be honest to the author because when you translate it, it was never meant for that other language, right? It was meant for the eyes and the ears and like all the mannerisms and like all the flow of the language is like meant for that language. So when you translate, you are taking elements away and like not everything can be translated because if it could, it'd be the same language. And how they said it was betrayal, I was like, dang, my heart. Cause that's deep, bro. Like R.F. Kwong, however you say her name, like she ate down when she made this book. And I also took Latin. I did 3 semesters in high school. And so like I enjoy like the Latin, that part. I just feel like super connected to the story. And then I think what I like most, like, is like the biggest thing I'm a lifelong learner. Your girl is still in school currently. I'm currently still in school. I'm 31 years old, still in college, okay? So, like, I love learning. Like, I love school. I love college, though. Like, or university, I would say. Like, I love university. I didn't know this genre existed. I'm obsessed, okay? So that was like how I'm feeling about it. I haven't gotten that much more into book 2. Like I said, I need to finish. My goal is going to be to finish book 2 tonight. Like I said, Robin's gotten a lot closer to his brother Griffin. You learn that Griffin lost his mother tongue, and so that's one of the main reasons why they need Robin's help. We're learning that the Romance languages are now becoming dead because like all the cultures at that time in the 1800s were like intermixing because like Europe and like there's being translation from English, like translations from like German, Spanish, French, and all of that into English, and then English into those languages. And so the way that, remember I told you the magic system is like it works by capturing and realizing what's lost in translation. So if you have like 2 words, like let's say you have cat in English and cat in Spanish, but it might not mean like the exact same thing, but they're kind of familiar, but like that feeling, like whatever that little missing lost is what gives this silver its magic power. So this silver realizes that lost spot. And so because these cultures are becoming so intermixed, the silver bars are losing their value. Like they're not able to work because nothing's really lost anymore because their languages are becoming one. Like certain words that were in German are now becoming part of English, and like certain words that are in Spanish now are pulling English roots and things like that. So it's like they're losing their potency. And so the reason why Victoria, I hope I'm saying her name right. Victoria. Yeah, Victoria. I have a sister named Victoria, so I'm like, I hope I'm saying her name right. Victoria, Rami, and Robin. The reason why they are so impactful as students is because the bars are more potent when there's things lost. In these lands, they are just now starting to be colonized, and The issue is, because no one's been able to colonize these lands and you don't know the language, the bars now need these languages to absorb so that they can work, so they can start, like, work within the laws, you know? And so I think that's pretty rad. Like, I think it's rad that how accurate that is, because it showcases, like, the movement and trying to, like, why we're in certain lands, like why they're in Africa, why they're in China, the British, I mean, the empires, why they are going to these different areas. I do like that. But it's alarming to see, like, them truly, literally being used, and especially, like, Robin and Griffin, because they literally, like, their dad, Professor Lovell, literally, like, procreated with them just so that he could take them, you know, and not claim them and then make them work for England and betray their motherland, you know? Like, Robin's mom died. You know what I'm saying? Like, she died because Professor Lovell waited to the very last minute to go get them. You know what I'm saying? So it's just saying that is just so well written. And then the robberies are going well. Like, every time you think things are going good, he's just not, like, feeling comfortable. His brother pops up and has him, like, commit a robbery. And the most recent robbery is the robbery where a week before, they saw that the wards, like, the new silver has these wards that shoots people that try to steal. And so Robin witnessed it. And so his brother was telling them, hey, like, your blood, because when you go in Babel, if you're a scholar, like, your blood is going to, basically the building's going to know that you're you, and it allows you to go inside. And he was like, no, like, the wards know now, like, they know the intent to steal. Like, even if you have, like, the blood, they're going to know the intent. And his brother was like, they're not that smart, bro. Like, chill. Like, they're not that smart. But take this bar just in case if you're worried. And so he was like, I'm stressed out. But you know what? Whatever. My brother lost his language. That's when his brother airs out that he lost his language. And da-da-da. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go do this. Now we already know. We already know what happened. So they get inside. He is usually doing his normal thing where he opens the door for the Hermes? I hope I'm saying that right. Hermes? The Hermes Society. He opens the door for them, and right when they're about to come out, the alarm goes off and it starts shooting him, and he gets shot, y'all. So that's where I paused. And it's crazy. I can't be your Batman because I be Robin. So that's where I'm at. Loving it. Obsessed. This reading vlog might be really long, but who cares, because this is a good time. So I'm going to check in with y'all when I get to book 3 probably, since there's, like, multiple books in the series. So I'm checking in with y'all on book 3. Family, it is several days. I think it's been like 10 days since I last had an update. And the reason being is I told you guys I'm savoring this book because I'm at book 4 now. This is gonna be my favorite book of all time. Like, we can just say I don't even need to finish the end to know, but this is definitely going to be my favorite book of all time. I think the last time I updated you guys, I was on book 2. I am now in the United Kingdom. That's when I wanted to prolong this book. Because, like, I am a mood reader. I read off of vibes and things like that. And so I was like, you know what? I already have a trip coming up for the UK. And I'm finishing this book when I'm in the UK. Like, the vibes are vibing. Like, I'm in Edinburgh right now, and, like, when I'm reading in the book that, like, they have other institutes in Edinburgh, I'm like, period. Because this is the vibe, okay? I'm not going to Oxford. I'm going to Edinburgh and London, but London is where a lot of things has happened. That's where Parliament is. And Edinburgh is another institute, so close enough. I'm not in Oxford, but I'm close enough. And the vibes are vibing. Book 3 was outrageous. And the thing was, since I haven't updated you guys, I can't remember if book 2 was when they killed Professor Lovell, or if that was the beginning of book 3. All I know is book 3 was crazy. Like, I'm talking from the murder of Professor Lovell to going back to Oxford to meeting back up with the Hermes Society, or Hermes, however you say it, to Letty betraying them and killing somebody, to Griffin getting killed by his high-key hater, like his version of Letty, to them sieging Babel. I like how she bridged that, like, the low class have more in color. The low class have more in common with people of color than they do with, like, the high class. Because the only thing that they have in common with the high class is their skin color. But, like, all of the inequalities and, like, when anything's going on with, like, them doing all, like, the silver restrictions from, like, boycotting and, like, going on strike. All of the things that are being impacted, like the sewage systems, people dying, the bridges collapsing, the disruption with, like, small businesses, all these things, like, the lower class are facing, but the high class, they can just, like, go to their estate and, like, wait for all this to blow over. And so, like, I thought that that was super, not dope, but it's, like, people always say that. Like, you always hear, like, old heads say that. But to have it, like, articulated so well and, like, to actually showcase how they actually do have in common is crazy. The person I knew that was going to betray them, though, I knew Letty was going to betray them. I didn't know that she was going to kill Rami. And I think I was so sleep deprived on the flight when I read that. I was just like, I was just numb. I was like, they killed Rami. I knew she was going to betray them, but that just, like, that was crazy. Then right after that, she hit us another blow and Griffin died. I was like, and then, like, Anthony, like, all the people we thought were dead, they died. When it killed all of them, I was like, dang. Like, everybody died in book 3. And then I love that the professor, like, Robin's mentor, I love that he went on, like, took the tower with them. Like, I thought that was so dope. I had a feeling he would because of his name. I was like, I bet he's gonna be on their side. But then when the other female professor was on their side too, I thought that was dope. But book 3 was just crazy and tumultuous. I definitely feel like Robin's unhinged, but I feel like that's realistic because he lost his dad, his brother, and his best friend. So, like, he's very unhinged right now. Like, he's unhinged. Like, he's Griffin times 5. And, like, Griffin was unhinged, but Robin is, like, completely unhinged. I like that Victory, like, how she's, like, she's trying to reason with him, but she's also angry, but she's also, like, still, like, you know, like, trying to be peaceful, and try to get the points across and, like, be, like, stable. The same thing with the other scholars, I think. But I do like that somebody's making the difficult choices. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Robin's doing, right? Because violence is not always the way. But I think he's unhinged, but apparently being unhinged is how you get things done. I even like how they, like, orchestrate that, like, it's not fair for them to have to be the ones to, like, see the fault in their ways and, like, see, like, the suffering of the low class, because it's like they didn't care. The white people didn't, like, not white people, but the empire, the British Empire, didn't care when they were taking over their countries, and their countries were, like, being enslaved, or they were dying, or they were going through famines, or they were having poor water and things like that. They didn't care about that, so they're like, why do we have to care about them? And I really liked how, like, when Letty came back, even before, like, Letty was just crazy, but, like, how they were consoling her, like, when she finally came to terms, like, with everything they were, like, going through, kinda, before she betrayed them, and they were like, after everything that we just told them, she's crying and we're consoling her, like, this is weird. And when he said that, I was like, she's gonna betray them. And then when she did betray them, she's still trying to make it seem that, like, they're crazy. And she's just like, y'all ungrateful and y'all are this. I'm like, girl, you're not even seen as a person yourself. Like, you're not seen as a person, because at that time, like, it's still very much, like, sexist. So it's like you're defending an empire that's not even fair to you. But go off. You know what I'm saying? Like, Letty warped. But again, like, she grew up in a society and it's like this undying loyalty and support and love. Like, I can identify with that. Like, I have undying love and support sometimes to my family just blindly. And like, if somebody tries to reason with me, like, I'm gonna be like, nah. Like, well, my family, my upbringing, like what I've learned and what I've what I've received and part of my programming as a child, like, it's very hard to just not accept that. And I think all of them did that. Like Robin went through that, and also Letty. But I feel like Robin finally came to terms with it because Robin is a minority, whereas Letty, she's white and she fits. She is a British citizen. So, crazy. Okay? Book 3 is insane. The death, the stealing Babel, and just the tenacity and grit. Like, you gotta respect. And I was just not expecting this book to go there. Like, for real. Like, I was not expecting this book to go there. So the fact that it went there, the fact that we're here is not what I could have never thought that we would be right here. So I'm in book 4. I'm gonna give y'all an update when I finish the book, but I already know this is gonna be my favorite book of all time. Hey, beautiful people. It is several weeks later, and I realized while I was editing this video, because all of my videos are usually filmed like, I would say like 2 months in advance. So like everything that you guys see 9 times out of 10, well, not 2 months, like 6 weeks, I would say 6 to 4 weeks in advance. That's how like far in advance all of my videos are filmed. And I realized when I was in London, I never closed out my Babel vlog, which, yeah, I didn't close it out. And sorry that my mood is down. It's just going through patches, you know, I'm always going through something. And I'm not quite ready to share now, but I will be sharing later. But let's go ahead and give you guys my final views and how I feel about Babel. What I definitely feel 100% 5-star, okay? And as you guys can see, we did 4 books. There's book 1, 2, 3, and 4. Book 1 and 2 were filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. Book 3 and part of book 4 were filmed in Edinburgh. I ended up finishing the book in Edinburgh, Scotland. And then my final review is being filmed in New York. So I'm just like all over and like on brand because at the end of the book, it ends with Victory going to the New World, and the New World being America. So being in New York, not all the way new, not like the newest of the new, but it is part of the original 13 colonies. I think. I could be wrong. I think. So I feel like going from London to New York is definitely on brand. So yeah, 5 stars. Why? Still think about the characters. Still think about the story. And even while I was editing this vlog, because I've been editing it yesterday and today is April 3rd, loved it. Like, definitely can identify. I feel like the way the story ended wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I honestly didn't think after they killed Professor Lovell, like, I didn't think that much more could be done with the story. And to see how far that it was able to build still and create a story that deals with a lot of loss, a lot of destruction, a lot of suffering, but then still like showcase like everything like that embodies like colonialism and like what it does to people of color and what it does, not just people of color, but what it does to like societies. I thought that was super well written. How the story ends up happening is briefly in book 3 they talked about it, how like they were doing like they had sieged Babel and they were overtaking the silver and basically like doing this huge boycott, and it was nonviolent at first. And Robin was very unhinged and was wanting to do violence, and it kept escalating and escalating. And in the very beginning of the book, we learned that you can't do something that's unable to be realized. And one of those things was like bring people back from the dead. And so basically, if you try, the silver will explode, and it will also like infect all the silver that it touches. So like if it explodes and it touches another piece of silver, that'll explode and it'll just keep causing reaction, and any silver that was dealt with or touches it is going to be infected and like rendered useless, right? So we learned that in the very beginning, that was like their first lesson. And so they're doing the boycotts, nothing's working. They end up partnering really well with the lower class, the mill workers, and they end up building like a camaraderie. And I thought that was really cool to see, like them working together and really respecting each other, and like identifying like how they were both being used in different ways and how they were both suffering. I thought that was really well written. And they ended up defending them. So like when everything was going on, like when they seized Babel, the military came in, it was trying to get Babel back from them. And these like lower class individuals were really defending it by like they were ex-veterans, so they were not ex-military, okay? So they fought in like some of the wars, and so they knew how to fight and things like that. So they were defending them from the military. And essentially what ends up happening is the inevitable, as the military is like, all right, we're done playing, we're gonna siege it, we're gonna get it back. And at this point, that's when Robin comes with the plan that we're gonna just blow up the tower, we're gonna infect it, and we're just gonna blow it up. And I totally forgot about this. Like, I predicted it, and I should have wrote it down. Like, I was like, you know what? I think they might, like, what are they gonna do? Like, I think they might end up blowing up the tower, like, or at least infecting it or something. And that was his plan, and he did that. And I was just like, wow, like, full circle. Like, I think that was in book 1, or it might have been in book 2. But I was just like, wow. Like, the way to connect like the story all the way from beginning to the end, amazing. And Robin was very like dealing with like a lot of like angst and anger and like unresolved like feelings, like grappling with like murdering someone, grappling with like the death of his brother, of his best friend, grappling of like him being like killing his dad, grappling with like even being put in a situation, grappling with like society and being like an asset to them, and then like them ended up just discarding them. And he was just very unhinged and very angry, and like he was willing to die for everything. And he didn't care. And like he just was like, you know what, that's the only way out. Like, violence is essential. And like that's one thing, like violence gets people's attention, violence makes people listen, violence makes people respond, violence enacts change. And it sucks because like violence is necessary in this type of situation, especially when we're dealing with like colonization and like fighting for rights and freedoms. It sucks because like you want to be like the peaceful route, you want to take the peaceful way out, but that's not always able to be done. You know what I mean? Like violence enacts like the change. And I think that's really what this book was about, because colonization is violent in itself. And the way for people to claim back, like, violence is essential. Not saying violence is the best way. That's not what the book is saying. But violence is essential. And so Robin understood that, and his brother understood that. But like at the end, Robin really understood that, and that was not like what he wanted initially. But he finally got it. He was like, I want there's a thin line though between violence and vengeance, right? And so like violence might be necessary, but vengeance, when you're taking it overboard and really seeing people suffer, because the low class were the ones that were suffering, and the low class aren't the ones colonizing, right? The low class are just in the system, and as you saw in the book, they were like the people of color, and they were the ones being hit the hardest by like the boycotts and things like that. But like if you hit too hard, it becomes vengeance. People are now suffering because you're also trying to like get redemption for what you might have faced. And so I think how the story ended with them choosing who's going to die, because the thing was they had to blow up the tower by doing the silver, and they had to make sure enough silver was disrupted and destroyed so that way like they could really like do the most damage. And it was a suicide mission. And the options are, you can either run and be in the run for the rest of your life, or you can just die here and just get it over with. And so they split up into groups, and they decided who was going to die and who was going to leave. And I like that Victory was like honest. She was like, I don't want to die. Like, I believe in hope. I believe that it doesn't have to end here, and I want to live my life, and I have faith that I'm going to be free. I have faith that this is going to work out. I have faith that my life is going to be better, and I don't want it to end here. And Robin was just like so in so much pain. He was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't care. Like, my life ends here. Like, I'm good on it. And so the five, I think it was 5 or 4, it's been a while since I read it, 5 or 4 of them stayed. It was Robin's mentor, I don't even want to butcher his name starts with C, the female professor, the boyfriend and girlfriend that end up getting together in the tower, and Robin. So those 5 stayed, and then Victory and one other student fled. And so they ended up destroying the tower. And the book ends, and then Victory ends up getting on a ship to America, and of all places America, because America, I think slavery had just been abolished there as well, but like they weren't really seen as equals there. But she was like, you know what, I'm gonna go find the other people from Hermes, I'm always butchering that, society, and keep on with the vision. And so the book ends, and I loved it. Like, I loved how she was able to tie it all in. Also, I even love that Letty came back, and Letty was very like sad and obviously like heartbroken that her friends like betrayed her, because like from Letty's point of view, like they were just like on the wrong side and ungrateful and etc. And it was just like having Letty come back and being the one to warn them, because we hadn't seen Letty since she killed Rami, and just like really trying to like tell them like it's gonna be okay and things like that, like just continually showcasing like the gap between like being on different sides of like the society, you know. I just thought it was just like such a well written book, you know, like. And this isn't even, obviously this is like fake, but this is like dealing with hard subjects, right? Like colonization, the book might be fake, but colonization is real. Like sexism is real. Enforced like religion on populations is real. Like slavery was real. Like all of these things were real. And so it's interesting to see like such complex, like difficult topics touched upon and discussed so well. Sorry, like somebody's doing a jackhammer right now. Like what? The jackhammer has me. The jackhammer has me. But we're in New York, so I mean, what do we expect? Do we expect anything else? No. So if you guys can hear that, I'm so sorry. But it was just so well written to talk about such complex, difficult subjects, and do it in such a way that made you like really have true understanding of the impact, true understanding of like indoctrination, true understanding of like sexism, racism. I think it was just code switching, like finding a found family, all these things, being like in a PWI, like having to stand up for yourself and what you believe in, dealing with like loss, dealing with love, dealing with pain, dealing with death. Like, it was just sickness, disease, like everything you could think of was in that book. And I really just, it's one that's gonna stick with me. I don't know how long it's gonna be before I find a book that speaks to me as strongly as this book. Definitely my favorite book ever as of now. Obviously things can change in the future, but I definitely stand on that. That is my first 5-star read, and also is my favorite book of all time. I know this video is long, and I thank you guys so much for sticking with me. If you're still here, comment New York City. If you're still here, if you watch the whole thing, comment New York City, because I'm gonna be shocked if you stayed here, because I'm pretty sure this is like 40 minutes at this point, or maybe even 45. So how I feel about Babel, literally, it made my March. I think I will see you guys in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. Push notifications. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.